The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Isabella Rodriguez stepped onto the platform, her powered combat armor gleaming under the sterile lights. The metallic footsteps echoed through the vast hall, each one deliberate and heavy. Around her, representatives from 47 alien species watched with barely concealed amusement. "That is what humans wear into battle," chittered Ambassador Zelthor, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that his species used for laughter. "It must weigh as much as a small ship." Isabella's helmet visor remained impassive as she surveyed the council. Through her heads-up display, she could see Leo Chen monitoring from the human delegation box, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. He'd helped design this suit, poured 3 years of his life into every servo and plate. The Mark 7 tactical assault armor weighs approximately 420 pounds, Isabella said calmly. Without the operator, a wave of what could only be described as mockery rippled through the chamber. The Valkyrie delegation, slender, graceful beings who moved like liquid mercury, seemed particularly entertained. "Primitive," hissed Commander Silvax of the Valkyrie military. "Our soldiers wear photon-weave suits that weigh merely 8 pounds. They can move at speeds your species cannot even perceive. Your armor is a relic, a burden. How do you expect to keep pace with modern warfare when you can barely move?" Leo's jaw tightened as he watched from the delegation box. He'd heard this all before. During every design review, every funding meeting, the Galactic Coalition had offered humanity their advanced armor technology, lightweight, energy-based, elegant, but Leo and his team had refused. They'd studied the data, run the simulations, and seen the fatal flaw that everyone else ignored. Isabella shifted her weight, and the armor's servo motors whirred almost silently. Would the Council permit a demonstration? The Galactic Arbiter, an ancient being of pure energy contained in a floating crystalline matrix, pulsed with interest. "Proceed, human Isabella." "Commander Silvax," Isabella said, turning to face the "Would you be willing to demonstrate your photon-weave armor's defensive capabilities?" The commander's features arranged themselves into what humans had learned was a smirk. "With pleasure, though I warn you, human, our weapons may damage your historical artifact." "I'll take that risk," Isabella replied. Within minutes, the demonstration area was prepared. Commander Silvax stood on one platform, his photon-weave armor shimmering like oil on water, barely visible against his silver skin. Isabella stood opposite, her armored form looking positively medieval by comparison. Leo checked his readings one final time. Everything was perfect. The armor's systems hummed with barely restrained power fusion microreactor operating at optimal efficiency. Kinetic dampeners primed ablative plates locked and loaded. This was their moment to prove that humanity understood something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. "We will begin with standard combat weapons," the Arbiter announced. Valkyrie plasma rifle, set to military standard. The first shot hit Silvax's photon-weave armor and dissipated harmlessly, the energy spreading across the surface like ripples on a pond before fading away. Impressive. The second and third shots yielded identical results. "Now the human," the Arbiter said. Leo held his breath as the plasma rifle turned toward Isabella. The bolt struck her chest plate with a flash of superheated gas. When the light cleared, Isabella stood unmoved. A faint scorch mark darkened the armor's surface, but she was completely unharmed. "Acceptable," Silvax admitted grudgingly. "But let us increase the challenge." The weapons escalated. Particle beams, kinetic rounds, thermal lances. Each weapon represented the standard armament of a different species. The photon-weave armor performed admirably, deflecting or absorbing each attack with elegant efficiency. Isabella's armor simply endured. Each impact left marksburns, dents, scratches, but the soldier inside remained untouched. Leo monitored her vitals constantly. Heart rate steady, no internal injuries. The armor was doing exactly what they'd designed it to do. "Impressive durability," Zelthor admitted, "though the damage is evident. Our armor shows no such wear." "Because you haven't really tested it," Leo called out, unable to contain himself. "Request permission to speak, Arbiter." The energy being pulsed acknowledgement. Leo stood, his hands trembling slightly, with barely controlled anger. "Every species here has optimized for the wars you've been fighting: skirmishes, border disputes, quick engagements. Your armor works perfectly for that. But humanity comes from a world that tried to kill us for millions of years. We learned to prepare for the worst." He pulled up a holographic display, Plasma weapons, particle beams, kinetics, these are all known threats. Your armor handles them because it's designed to. But what happens when you face something unexpected? What are you proposing? The Arbiter asked. Humanity requests permission to conduct one final test, Isabella said. An unknown weapon, something none of our armors were designed to counter. After a moment's deliberation, the Council agreed. The Arbiter itself would generate a random energy weapon. Parameters unknown to either species. The chamber crackled with tension. Even Sylvax seemed less certain now, his silver skin rippling with what might have been nervousness. The Arbiter pulsed, and reality itself seemed to tear. A beam of writhing, chaotic energy, part radiation, part matter, part something that defied classification, lanced toward both platforms. Simultaneously, the photon weave armor tried to adapt, its surface shifting through 1,000 configurations in milliseconds, but the energy was too alien, too chaotic. It punched through, and Sylvax cried out as the beam grazed his shoulder before the safety systems shut down the test. Isabella's armor rang like a struck bell. The ablative plates on her shoulder exploded outward, sacrificial layers designed to shed damage. The kinetic dampeners wind at maximum capacity. Her fusion reactor spiked momentarily before compensating. But when the dust cleared, Isabella remained standing. Wounded armor, yes, the right shoulder assembly was half melted, sparking and dying. But the soldier inside was alive, whole, and ready to keep fighting. The chamber erupted in stunned silence. Your armor is more advanced, Isabella said, addressing the Council. Lighter, faster, more elegant. But ours is built on a simple principle. Assume you're going to get hit. Assume it's going to be bad, and make sure you can survive it anyway. Leo smiled as he watched his creation prove its worth. Humanity had been mocked for their heavy, primitive approach to warfare, but they'd learned something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten in their pursuit of elegance. Sometimes, the best defense isn't avoiding damage, it's being too stubborn to die from it. The Galactic Council would never mock human armor again.